All right, Bobby McGee, we're back. Jason DeBias, and I am back with Rob McLean. And usually I have a happy song today, but I don't have a happy song today. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. I went a little low like DMX. So Rob, a lot happened this week. The UFC happened this week. The documentary Lance Armstrong. We're gonna get into all of that in some depth, but to call our next topic the elephant in the room would be an understatement. I just don't think it says enough. And I want to make sure I can hear you.
Yeah.
Ah, my man. All right, cool. So here's the thing. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. George Floyd. Amid Floyd's tragic death as a result of the actions of a police officer in Minnesota, many professional athletes, particularly athletes all around the world, you were mentioning soccer and a lot of these other world sports, mixed martial arts, these guys aren't sitting quietly, but the important thing was the big two, the NBA basketball and NFL football, who always watch what they say because their bottom line, and there's so much money at stake, they're always careful what they say, but coaches, general managers, players, and I think an owner or two have broken their silence because enough is enough. Particularly Steve Jackson, who actually grew up with George Floyd. Rob, I'd like you to, if you'd like me to go first, the question is this, and it's a rhetorical question, but it takes us where we got to go. Is this politics and sports crossing paths again, or does this go beyond politics?
Yeah, so the thing is I think this is a human issue. And it's hard because people talk of things below being a human, which is their class or their race or, what they're worth as an individual. But that's all below being a human being. So when you get away from being, when you try to dehumanize other people, or there's hate in your heart, or anything away from being a human being, which is all love, then bad things happen, and there's always bad apples, and you have to flush that stuff out with communication and not silence. And I think that's just what's going on, and it's great to hear people at the top talking about the situations at hand in everyday life. So,
listen, we've experienced a lot of things like this, and I have a question for you because I'm a Q&A a little bit, and then I'll take it. And for sure, chime in on mine too, because I know you're gonna have questions. Because we both have a whole lot to say about this, and we don't want to oversaturate where the words don't have meaning themselves. My question is this: what's different about, in your opinion, what's different about this? Compared to all the other situations? For example, Eric Garner, Staten Island, we're both New Yorkers, said I was more closer to home. Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin. All of these things make national headlines, but this seems much bigger. And why is it bigger?
Well, first of all, I don't feel like it's bigger at all. I feel like it's the exact same. I really believe that where the violence and the arson and the looting is happening is people through this pandemic who have been sitting at home for 3 months, have nothing better to do, and they go out and they have the communication now because, again, they've had to stay away from people and they've had to talk to people and be around. It's just organization. And unfortunately, it's being used in the wrong way. And everybody's trying to get out earlier than has to be, and it's mixing with this whole idea of protesting, and I think it's bigger because there's the opportunity. Again, everybody has something to say. They're for one side of the issue, and maybe they didn't speak up before. I think that's why it's bigger. It's bigger around the world because still, same issue. Everybody's been home, and I think you have an opportunity to educate yourself on many issues other than just racial issues, and then something happens like George Floyd, and a spark is ignited again. And I think it's just a natural order of things where what happened from last time and what's going to happen now. And they just said that, three of the officers aren't going to be charged with video because they have video that's going against maybe some of the earlier reports. And the one officer who is charged is in third-degree murder, which is at most 25 years, when they put people away again for much less charges for much more time. So I don't agree with the arson or the looting, but it gets to a point where protests become too big and they become people become riots because it's against the police. It's against the establishment. It's against every other thing but what the real issue is. And that's the problem is, I don't mind a curfew, but I also don't mind, people in high places talking about what actually is going to happen and change. Like, why isn't there widespread litigation or good police officers coming out and talking about bad officers in their department and what they're going to do to, clean up house? Because I don't see none of that happen. All I see is the same old, they're looting, they're going to start shooting. They're, everybody's the same. Protesters are looters, and then it's kind of sad because there's just, the point is not really being had. The whole issue is about police brutality. And I understand where police have to be brutal in these moments, but I just wish that the leaders who talk so much about their own policies can come back and step forward and start talking about where the change is going to come from, not where they're going to just talk about what's happening, So it's sad where regular people are at odds with regular people when people in high places are the ones taking care of things. So we need to get to the ballot box and elect the people that are really going to put in our word. That's what needs to be talked about. That's what needs to end all this.
Rob, Bertolt Brecht, one of my favorite playwrights, talked about that real change can only happen collectively. There's no one person or two people that can be responsible for change. They can incite it. They can do some kind of leadership and have inciting incidents that lead to this change. And I believe collectively, I think that's what's going to happen. And now, I think there's a huge change. I asked you about the difference between then and now. You said there wasn't much, and I agree. It's not getting worse. It's getting filmed. All right. To quote Will Smith, racism isn't getting worse. It's getting filmed. Here's where I think they kind of got it right. And it's a short list. Okay. 1, people who are not affected are now getting involved. Dwayne Wade, actually, one of his quotes says, unless the people who are not affected get involved, there won't be change. And he was not talking about white privilege. He was talking about everybody that was not affected. He was talking about African-American athletes like himself who are so wealthy that that goes beyond black and white. If you're just rich, if you're Blake, you're still going to get thrown down in the street on Madison Avenue and misidentified. The second thing they got right, every time that there's some kind of a police brutality case that leads to a maiming or the death of someone, all the way from Amadou Diallo, who lived through his plight, all the way from Eric Garner, who died because of his plight, there's always one side, and I hate saying that, but there's always one side that always examines the suspect. Oh, well, he had a long record, or he had a history of drugs, or he had this and that. And they spend all this time examining that, and in essence, unwittingly or not, find themselves defending the police because I guess they're trying to say the cop knows a crook when he sees one. Now, with that being said, they got this right because at no time did we talk about George Floyd's history. They talked about the cop's history, which has to be highlighted on this show. 18 complaints of police misconduct. 18 complaints. And you see where I'm getting with this, right? Because everyone talks about the problem, and Eric Anderson, who actually messaged, it's good we're talking about this, but he said, let's see if we could get into solutions. Solutions come with better training of your police officers. First of all, look at everybody as human beings. Second, get rid of this militaristic nonsense in your head. Third, just because you're afraid of what you don't understand doesn't mean you can't treat somebody like a human being. Rob McLean, you had a white guy waving a machete in front of somebody. They took him alive. Okay, got guys armed to the teeth because they're protesting because of social distances or because of a shutdown. Armed to the teeth at City Hall. They didn't get arrested. They didn't get detained. Could you imagine if that was a bunch of black people?
There was a kid recently from UConn.
There'd be gun control. There's a kid who shot 18 people in South Carolina, and not only did he make it out alive, they took him to Burger King on the way to jail. This dude, a few weeks ago, running, just jogging, gets shot, unarmed. This dude, maybe he resisted, maybe he didn't. I didn't see the previous minutes prior to that. But once the situation is de-escalated, you don't kill him. You don't kill him. So that's one of the points I wanted to make. The other point I wanted to make from a sports perspective, because this is Sports Debate Tuesday, Colin Kaepernick is looking really good right now. I mean, we said a few years ago, history would be kinder to this one single act, this peaceful kneel in protest of police brutality and whatever. He's looking really good right now. He's looking really good right now because just like 50 years ago when Martin Luther King was getting beat up for civil discourse and Malcolm X came along, you know what everybody was saying? This dude's a nut. Why can't he be more like Dr. King? And now you got people looting. And now you got people breaking stuff and stealing. You know what they're saying right now? Why can't they be more like Colin Kaepernick? And I'm laughing, but it's not freaking funny.
Nope.
It's laughable
Crazy.
Because it's bad satire, Rob McLean.
It's just
LeBron James
leadership.
tweets,
I mean,
"Why doesn't
around.
America love us too?" I'm gonna put that up. This is a pre-production. Mike Gundy says disgraceful. Niners donating $1 million to social change. NBA commissioner Silver. This cannot be ignored. It is not being ignored. So my question.
It would have.
Yeah. It would have if what?
But look, all right. So like this, but this is the whole point about it is about the whole justice system. This is why it's the big thing that everybody was hanging on. They're saying in the news is that what's going to happen with the indictments? Because what happens is even if they get charged, it's usually just a public ploy to make everything okay with the public, and then
the news
they're just going to get off.
Then
and
the news
it's
goes away.
And what? Like I understand that an officer signs up to do their job. But how many times does somebody under their custody have to die before they're in custody, before they're in jail? Like, because clearly it's not one, because we've seen a couple people maybe lose their jobs, but not be in jail for killing a person. So is there latitude in killing somebody that is, clearly not a threat to you? Because that's really what it comes down to. When somebody dies in custody, that's not a threat. Because you can use lethal force, but if you feel threatened, if they're reaching for your gun, I've seen people been thrown into a car before. I can definitely see 4 people, or 3, because one guy was just standing there the whole time doing nothing. Throw a guy into a car and just, be over it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty crazy, man. And then as soon as other people are involved, you kind of get this like, yo, okay, hold on. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I can check myself. The fact that the hands were in the pocket, so it's not even that you could, release some pressure. It's all these factors. And then this guy might not even get a 3rd-degree murder charge, which means it was an accident, if there's any priors, it's not an accident. If there's anything that's
it would be
you could have
very
done
hard
to save
to go
his life,
right.
It's not an accident.
Well, that's what I was watching the talk shows this morning. Stephen A. Smith is asking why it's not murder too. Keith Ellison, who's now in charge of it right now, and he's a big time politician, big time community servant and public servant, said that he's looking into that because he just took over the case. he wasn't on it. He should have been. And yeah, what the? It just makes your blood boil, dude.
Yeah.
So Rob, it's one of those things where I'm glad, because sports is our wheelhouse. This is what we're talking about, particularly as you as a player, beach volleyball. I'm a coach. I'm a commentator. It's good that these people are speaking out because their voice does have weight. And I know symbolism is not activism. I get that. And I say that all the time. But it's a start. In order to have collective change, you have to have an inciting incident. This is the inciting incident. Now there are people stepping forward. All right. And now, and it's this woke culture is actually, for the first time, woke.
Right.
You know what the hell they did when CNN tried to cover this? The protesters chased them away.
I saw that. They were asking where they're from.
Fox News. It was like, oh, good. Go on, get on out of here. Guess what? They were like, you get the F out too. I'm saying Fox News, their news crew fled for their lives. CNN fled for their safety. All of these news crews fled. And this is where I think, even though a lot of it's the same, the results of this person's death is the same as many. There's something bigger going on. There's something escalating. What are the solutions? I'd like to go first on this. One, and I'm going to save yours because you were talking about something on a much higher scale that you need to repeat that you said earlier on. I want better training. I want these people to remind themselves they're not sentries. This isn't freaking RoboCop. Okay? To protect and serve, blah, blah, blah. RoboCop's more compassionate than some of these people. Stop looking at everybody. This includes the suspects. Stop looking at them like they're pieces of crap. They could be mentally ill. All right? They could be just minding their own business and jogging. Okay? And once you have the proper training to subdue somebody, don't kill them. Floor's yours.
Well, to be fair, I mean the Ahmaud Arbery case is where the son and father just took justice into their own hands. He was an ex-police officer, but he took justice into his
Space
own
Ranger.
hands.
Yeah,
and I understand. It goes back to the ideology. I think the just of like who can take justice into their own hands. Anarchist. In a way. And that's not acceptable. But the fact that on the other hand, completely unrelated, maybe not. But there is an issue if I've really never heard somebody chase down somebody else just to make sure they're not robbing their neighborhood and it be a white guy just being gunned down. Like I haven't seen that. We can talk about police brutality cases, but I've just never seen. I really don't hear about a black officer on white. I've never really heard about white officer on white. I've heard about a lot of white officer on black. I've heard of some black officer on black. So it's like I've heard of many things. I've heard of many on Hispanic, but the fact is that it happens on African Americans a lot. And then you have things like Ahmaud Arbery, where it's like. It happens in too many areas, in too many ways. Like it's got to be addressed. And then about about how people get sentenced on how their skin colors. And that's where the disparity starts to come in. It's not just one issue and another issue. And then we can talk down each issue with semantics and ways that it could be or couldn't be. No, it's a way because it's happening that way. Statistics are what they are. You can skew them in ways, but they
are skewed, Rob. They are skewed, Rob. Let me tell you something. I've had an argument with someone who's not racist, but he was talking, showing me an FBI stat, like a profile, and like the ethnicities or whatever who were committing the crimes. And his argument was they're getting arrested because they're the ones committing the crimes more than white people. And normally when someone says that, they sound like a racist, but if you know someone, you just consider them ignorant. And for the people that talk about stats are stats and facts are facts, I'd like to introduce a 2-word term to you: lurking variable. Lurking variable. Michael Wood, who was a former police sergeant for the Baltimore Police Department, quit his job because his captain was telling him, "We need X amount of arrests go out and arrest somebody. And he's like, but no one's committing a crime. I don't care. Just get 3 guys. Where's Michael Wood gonna go? Is he gonna go to the Upper West Side in New York? Is he gonna go downtown and arrest the nearest white kid? No. A black kid gets arrested, has to plead out for something he didn't do, and when he pleads out, it's on his record. So now the next time he gets stopped, just on suspicion, oh, he had a record. So anyone that talks about this bull crap about that black people are committing more of the crimes, 2 words for you: lurking variable. They're getting arrested for disproportionately. I just gave you an example of someone that told a captain had told his sergeant, Michael Wood, and I'd love to have this guy on the show, to go out and arrest people, and I don't care who. And where are they going? Where are they going, Rob? They're going to Flatbush Avenue. They're going to Harlem. They're going to South Central. They're going to Ferguson. They ain't going to the Upper West Side, dude. They're going to South Side, Chicago. Find the nearest body you can and bust them. Jack them up.
Right. And the semantics to that.
Sorry, I'm gonna finish, but hold on a second. So I don't want to hear about stats. Don't throw stats at me like they confetti. And you are gonna be willfully ignorant to the lurking variables of those stats. Sorry.
That's the truth. No, you good. I mean, and you know, it's just,
you said vote him out.
Difficult.
You said in the beginning of this, you said vote him out. I mean, I was 2 seconds away from just skipping. Mm-hmm.
That's what it is going to take.
Yeah.
You know, I really wish that, you know, people could organize to a point where they can protest within the means of legality and keep that protest going. Yep. You know, there's no reason that we can't protest for months on end and create an economic understanding on how, you know, devastating this really is to the community, as opposed to a physical presence in your face, which is unacceptable. You know, it's unacceptable. You cannot do that, because that's not the way that things are done in a civilized world. You know, you can't physically just make things happen, because everybody could do that, and that's where war happens. That's where fights happen. That's where battle happens. You have to do it in a different way, and we've created that system. That is the legal system we live in, and we just need organization as a culture. And it's unfortunate, but that's what I'm going to call it, because,
please,
you know, I don't want to. It doesn't have to be, you know, a black thing or a white thing, but, you know, everybody kind of floats to their own area, and that's totally fine. And, you know, be who you may, but, you know, use that power and that strength in an organized manner, and show strength and organization instead of just strength. You know.
Yep. Yeah. Well said, Rob. Well said. And I think these people who are protesting, albeit some uncivil and some civil discourse, they got it. I think they get it. And it's cool that this job. I feel, you know, I didn't feel good about the generation behind me, but I'm feeling a little better about them now. Not in light of the violent things and the arsenic things that happened over the weekend, but just they understand. And, you know, November's coming up, and if you don't like your politician, and this is not a left and right thing. If someone's not doing their job, vote them out. You know, we need new precinct captains. We need We need not to bring in people. We need to promote from within, and we need more officers to know the limits of their protecting their shield. To know, listen, this is Camden, New Jersey. And I want you to tell your story next, because you know the place. But Camden, New Jersey, the cops were protesting with the protesters. They were in unison. They're out there collectively. You told me something earlier about something that happened, right? They went to a police station. Yeah,
there was people protesting in UK and in Berlin at the U.S. embassies. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's just something that's reaching worldwide, where I think maybe even people outside our country, because they maybe don't have to deal with systemically as pointed as it is to maybe a certain group or two, but they still deal with, you know, prejudice, you know, and that's really what it is. You know, it's oppression. And just because it's not made to be oppressive doesn't mean it's not systemically oppressive, you know. Yeah. And we don't need advantage, you know. We just don't want to be oppressed. That's all it is about, you know. The fact that we just want to look like any other person walking down the street with every the same peaceful, you know, right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's really what it's about. And it doesn't have to be anybody else needing their lives meaning more than anybody else. All lives do matter, but right now some are meaning less than others. So we're just trying to catch up. That's all.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Just give everybody a shot. Yeah, I like what you said, and all over the world, dude. All over the world.
All over the world.
So how you doing?
Doing good, man. Trying to stay up in this, in this climate.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay positive and staying constructive.
Yeah, it seems like everything's taking a backseat to this too, right? Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
I got some people coming on later this week. I was supposed to have someone talk about COVID and the state of New York and this and that. And she was on the first team for when the Ebola hit. She's part of the phase 1 team when Ebola hit. So, wanted to talk a little bit about that on my episode of The Option.
Dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So Rob, we're both mixed. You are a black man. You're also Irish, right? White.
Yes, sir.
I am a black man, and I'm also white. And one of the things I wanted to say, and I'd like to take an attempt to speak for both of us, just because someone doesn't understand the black plight doesn't mean they can't get involved.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, what's hard about being on both sides of the issue is, it's never really been true acceptance or, true denial. So you kind of see it from both angles, and, that kind of gives you to be the mediator, I feel like, where you understand both issues, whether it's, both your parents or you have like a lighter complexion from your grandparents, or, your parents had lighter complexion or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but you still, when you're in an environment of more African American people, you have that, like, oh, you're on the lighter side. When you're in a lighter environment, you're on the darker side, and you just get both sides of the treatment, and it is different. That's why I feel like you start to first see where there could be a rift, and then you see, you just look at it outward and you see things happening. And you're like, oh, it could obviously be this, or it could be other things. And so, you just find out for yourself over time, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no doubt. I grew up born and raised Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue for a long time. I identify with being black. I went to an all-white school. They saw my mom was black, and all of a sudden they didn't want to touch me because they turned black. It was weird. Then you go to Flatbush Avenue, right? And black. Let me tell you something. Black people, they don't have time to dice up their white people. They don't care if I'm mixed. I'm gonna get bothered every day, running for my life. Incredible Hulk lunchbox until people get to know you better. So, getting called wigger, white nigger, zebra, Oreo cookie. I think I speak for both of us again why I say we. I understand. I understand that there's levels of understanding, because of my complexion, which is the lightest, if you will. But I get it. But I think what I was trying to say was, even if I don't get it, it doesn't mean I can't get involved. It doesn't mean I can't listen to people who are trying to get people to understand. It doesn't mean, and even on your worst day, Rob, it doesn't mean we can't have empathy.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
For the people listening at home, Rob and I were really close to just calling this because, we had other subject matter, right? But it's like, and now I know what he's talking about. I'm like, no, man, this is sport, and like sport is always provides a sense of normalcy, but now. You can't. There's no world away from this world, right? There is no escapism. This is it. This is in front of our face. We're gonna talk about Lance Armstrong. We ain't doing that no more. All right, we ain't doing that no more. Good idea, bad idea. Look, we had our episode. Good idea, bad idea. I already told myself we weren't gonna do that because I thought it would be a one subject episode that would dominate so much of it, and we're not trying to go too long. We're just trying to give people just enough,
For sure.
And this week we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Tyron Woodley, right? Woodley. Maybe we should.
He took that.
Did you see that? Not just took the L, man.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he got spanked up a little, but I mean, he broken after that whole Usman fight. He broken. He been broken for a while, but
Yeah. He
Till gave
has.
him a.
I think he has problems with people who um are just good wrestlers. Like everybody that
Yeah,
has a decent wrestling base. Think about all of his big losses, right? And I'll take you all the way back. Let's
but
go to
also game planners too.
yeah. Let's.
They got a game plan.
Well, he's got a game plan, but I think he freezes up sometimes.
Well,
I'll give
but
you an
that's what I'm
example.
saying. I think
Strike
it's too
Force,
simple.
like Strike Force,
Hmm.
he fought Nate Marquardt, right? And Nate Marquardt stuffed a lot of his takedowns, weathered the storm, and eventually slept Tyron Woodley. Finished him, slept him, boom, dropped him, and never got back up. Rory McDonald, Woodley eventually came to the UFC. Rory McDonald, great wrestler, great, big in size for a welterweight. And I'm just going to name the fighters, and I'm going to name what all of them had in common. Kamaru Usman, right? Right? And now recently Gilbert Burns. What do all four of them have in common? They all put Tyron Woodley in a position where his back was against the cage, and he couldn't get off. Now he does spend a lot of time counter striking. Don't get me wrong. So it's not the first time he's backing up, but he always seemed like he was in the corner and just couldn't get off. Didn't it seem similar to Kamaru Usman? Didn't this fight seem a little similar? Except he got tagged more.
I mean, I'd say this is like I agree with you that he's super hesitant, and I think that his game plan is just too simplistic, where he's just looking for a certain thing each time, and then once he does that, he can. And he's such a defensive fighter. So, like, what I mean is he doesn't have, like, a game plan to go forward. He's always on the defense, and he's waiting for his opponent to come in. So if his opponent doesn't game plan correctly and just shoots in or tries to take the time to be ultra aggressive instead of smartly just pick him apart, that changes everything, And I think just Rory McDonald, another smart fighter. I think Nick Marquette, he's a really crafty fighter.
Yeah, Nick Marquardt,
I think he has to be like really smart about how he does everything, and he utilized a lot, head kicks, get to the ground. He was like a real MMA fighter before, MMA kind of really came around to what it is now. You know what I mean? We're just totally all around, specialized in something, And then, I just think Burns, again, like he's just, like you said, a great wrestler, but he was so smart to pick his offense, picked him apart, just touched him outside, took him down, beat him up, and then just let him get up, next round, touch him. It's just a great fight. And I think, MMA is getting to a point now where everybody is everything. George St. Pierre was trying to say it like a couple of years ago, and I didn't really believe it, but now I really see it like now, like right now. Everybody's good. You know what I'm saying? It's not, nobody's like a slouch.
It is the land of the complete fighter, dude.
Yeah, and like not out of nowhere, but I mean, nobody's really putting a title fight in his name before this fight. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
And he's just. I mean, he kind of just embarrassed kind of Tyron Woodley a little bit.
Yeah, like Tyron doesn't have strong jiu-jitsu anyway. He's a good wrestler, and he does have ability to take people down. But I think he's one of these wrestlers. I think he's one of these wrestlers that fell in love with his right hand.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Too simple. Like right hand, defend. Maybe take down. Just be explosive. It's too simple. Maybe when you are explosive, but he's lost a step a little bit. He doesn't have this just explode. Kamikaze punch that he usually does. Like he just, did a little bit different fighter, and those fighters don't age well.
No, they don't.
Just like any other player, the more skilled you are in your craft, the better you age.
And he had a choice to make. I mean, neither choice is very appealing. You take more time off to prepare because you're slowing down a little bit, or jump in too soon and some of the injuries, because everyone's injured in training camp. Nobody goes into a fight 100%. It's just that's just a reality. But it was one of those things where I kind of felt bad for him because he had to battle Dana for years and defend himself on some performances many consider poor. Like Damian Maia, they thought that was a poor performance, but Damian Maia has those against counter strikers. Like if you remember Anderson Silva, Dana didn't even want to put the belt around him. When Silva won, he just left.
We did not do a top 5 all time of MMA, did we? Because
nope.
I watched Anderson Silva, man, and I was like, he is my GOAT of all time for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, we
He's got to
did.
be.
I think we did.
Did we
I
do it
think your
all time?
GSP not well. You put yeah.
I thought it was of a certain division. No, maybe it wasn't because we said John Jones and yeah, yeah. My bad. I messed that up because Anderson Silva is the number one. That's my number one for sure.
Well,
That would
if
have been a fight of all time. GSP and Anderson Silva. Oh my goodness.
if you put Amanda Nunez in that, and then if it's both sexes, how about that woman starched everybody? I mean, she got Felicia Spencer this weekend, and
I
Spencer.
just think it's like, is Randy Couture in the top five of all time?
Hmm.
You know, because he was starching dudes in the beginning. You know,
Is it possible to be on the Mount Rushmore and not be in the top five?
right?
That's a question, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, he beat Liddell, he beat Belfort. He literally spanked Tito on his butt. I don't know if you saw, and maybe I'll put the video up later. He had Tito in a position where Tito was going for like a knee bar, and he's standing up, and they're wedged against the cage, and Tito's butt is there, and his ass is in like Couture's face. So Couture does this and smacks him on the ass, starts spanking him, and Tito's corner's yelling, "He's tapping, and he's like, "No, I'm not tapping." Yeah, nah,
That's funny.
but if it's both sexes, I gotta go with Amanda Nunez, man.
Nah, man, I'm sorry. That's not the greatest fighter
Holmes,
of all
Cyborg,
time.
Holly Holmes, Cyborg, Jermaine Durandamine, Ronda Rousey, Misha Tate, Sarah McMahon. My God.
I mean, come on, man.
You said Anderson, right? Are you still saying Anderson?
Anderson
Yeah.
Silva, bro.
Dude lives in the
Because
Matrix.
it's also because on top of that, it's also it's not to take this somewhere, but it's also his ability, like what he was able to do. Because I feel like it's not just who you beat, you know. It's like Mayweather. Like I think he's great, but I think you also have to have the skill. You have to be able to do things, not just one side of things.
Right.
You know, that's why I like Roe Jones a little bit better than I like, Floyd Mayweather, But
Yeah. I've
that's just how it is.
always
I
liked
think
Roy
both
Jones.
sides of the game is better than one side mastered,
Yep. Yeah. So what do you think of Tyson coming back?
Bare fist. I
Just
hope bare fist before anything. I mean, that would just I think he'd just be a ridiculous champion.
it means you get to hold the head when you bite the ears.
Oh man.
So all of the people that have met Mike Tyson, Joe Rogan had him on the show, Brendan Schaub, talked to him.
Hmm.
He is intimidating to be in the same room with. You already know he's coming in. He's not gonna hurt you. He's not gonna throw a punch at you. But at the same time, you're just like, there's this nervous energy. There's this nervous energy of just being near him.
Well,
And
I think it might be, the same way, and I think, a lot of people don't really take the metaphysical world into consideration, but I think that he's possibly just as nervous as you are, and he probably is an individual who loves to keep control of the room, and likes to be in control. And there are some people like that, and if that's the issue, his nervousness can transfer to other people and just be like, I'm trying to be the big guy in the room, but I'm nervous. That means I got to make everybody else nervous, so I'm the big guy in the room still. So it's kind of like, it could just be a thing that, he does to create an environment around him, and he knows how to do that, and star power, I think Mike Tyson's a very interesting individual, it's like he has the most raw, but most like he's like the Hulk almost, it's just like something you can't control,
it's true.
After his trainer passed away, it kind of just seemed like everybody had a chance at him and his mind and his money, and
Yeah.
so
He
just
seems
interesting.
much more mellow though.
Yeah, I mean, he's a different guy now. I mean,
Yeah.
just outside of the boxing game and getting his life straight and doing his thing, and it's been great to see. But there was a time where he was an intimidating person, and he's still a very intimidating person, I'm sure.
No doubt. Yeah. Once again, for those listening, sports is a form of escapism, and where everyone's watching CNN and watching the news right now, and the news, and I sound like I'm trashing the media again, but they do a really good job of just promoting fear for the sake of ratings, and under the premise that the people have the right to know. Right now CNN is scaring the hell out of people. MSNBC is scaring the hell out of people. Fox News is scaring the hell out of the people, and they're not. And in my opinion, and in many cases, they're not doing it for anything as noble as the people. Okay, everyone's watching, and someone's making a lot of money from this, and that pisses me off. So, this gesture of us just touching MMA is the epitome of what escapism is supposed to be. You take a break from this. We're on curfew, okay? If you're at home right now, pull out the board games, board game night. If you have a little tribe in your house, if you got a whole bunch of kids, do that. If you're quarantining instead of quarantining, engage. Spend some time engaging conversation. Engage in understanding what's going on in the United States right now, in light of what happened in this I'll call it a brutal murder. Damn near first-degree murder. Very, very strong argument for second-degree. I can't even argue it. In fact, I will argue for that. So, while you're talking about this and while you're emphasizing, take a step back. Play a board game. Hug your children. Make love to your wife. Tell her you love her. Just like I love you guys. Just like I love Rob McLean.
Love you back, brother.
Yep. That wraps it up, right? We doing it. We could do it that way. Lance Armstrong's not worthy of my attention. We're gonna deal with that guy. We're gonna deal with that guy next week, okay? Next episode 20, will be pre-aired on live on Monday, and then will be out on iTunes and Spotify on Tuesday. But for all of you at home, I wish you happiness, and I wish you safety. I wish you will understand what's going on, and I wish you, for those that don't understand, I just want you to empathize until you can, and for those of you that are neck deep in it, just hang in there, keep your head up, because truly, and I never said this before, and I'm going to say it now, truly, we're all in this together, because I always hated saying that because it wasn't always true. We're in this together. No, you're not. You're on that hill. They're over there. No, we're in this together. Rob, anything?
No, man, just let's just be conscious, y'all. There's a reason why everything is happening. So it's not just unheralded. Whether or not you agree with the looters or not. I think everybody disagrees with all that, but you can't disagree with the protests. And if you do, check out you need to read up more. There's a long history, so read all history.
Educate yourselves.
Not just the one in the books.
Educate yourselves, people. Educate yourselves. Very, very important. Rob McLean. Keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBilius. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, bro. See you later. I'm going to hit my music. We're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.